Okay, yes, I know. Like everyone and their mother has pointed out to me, it was Bill Skarsgård in it, not Alexander. I watched The Legend of Tarzan for the first time the night before. It confused me. I fucked up. Can we just let it go now? For the record, this sucked. Welcome to part 2 of my list for the best films of 2017, and much like the first part of this list, I wouldn't feel like myself if I wasn't pissing someone off. Apparently, I'm really good at it, because number 10 is my pick for best musical. While Beauty and the Beast failed to impress me by pretty much all standards, The Greatest Showman did not. After seeing this film, I was shocked at all the hate this movie was getting, and the more I watched it, and thought about it, the higher on this list it got. With breathtaking music, fantastic performances all around, a story that hits hard, and some of the best production design I've seen all year, I don't understand why people disliked this so much. And by people, I mean critics, because audiences loved this film, and I'm inclined to agree with them. Hugh Jackman was born to play P.T. Barnum, and he knows it. So much to the point that this was a passion project of his for years. The only reason this wasn't made years ago is that the studios didn't want to take a chance on an original musical. Thank you, La La Land, for proving them wrong, and thank you to the two musical talents behind La La Land for writing the music for this film, because it is exquisite. I've been rocking this soundtrack in my car since the day I saw the movie. The Other Side, The Greatest Show, Rewrite the Stars, A Million Dreams, these are all great numbers, and everyone does a fantastic job singing them in the film. Jackman and Efron play off each other perfectly, Zendaya is able to show her talents as a singer and an actress as well, and I didn't know Michelle Williams could sing, but goddamn is she good. The messages of tolerance and appreciating what you have are displayed beautifully in The Greatest Showman. It may not be the actual true story of P.T. Barnum, but it was never trying to be. It's historical fiction, and fantasized historical fiction at that, so stop taking it so seriously. It's just a fucking movie, and a damn good one, despite how historically inaccurate it is. Being historically inaccurate didn't make Gangs of New York or Amadeus bad movies, and it sure doesn't make this one bad either. You could argue that some of the movies I mentioned in the last video are better than this, but I'm sorry. I don't think I had more fun watching any other film this year. The Greatest Showman absolutely deserves to be in my top 10. I've seen it 3 times, and I'm sure I'll see it many more times in the future. At number 9 is my pick for best sci-fi film, and if any film deserves that title, it's War for the Planet of the Apes. These movies have been consistently great ever since Rise came out in 2011, and all have made my best of lists. Rise was at 2 in 2011, Dawn was at 4 in 2014, and now War is at 9. Out of all of them, I still think Rise was the best one, but War for the Planet of the Apes was in a close second for me. What was so intriguing was that it was a prisoners of war film, a film where Caesar and his comrades are captured, and he's forced to end the conflict with the humans behind a gate. There's also some nice callbacks to the original series of films, with humans losing the ability to talk and a little girl who the apes eventually named Nova. Andy Serkis, I've said it once, I'll say it again, deserves a damn Oscar for this role. And the idea of him getting a special Oscar just because of the motion capture is bullshit to me. It's still his performance, his facial expressions, and movements, and he deserves the Best Actor nomination at the very least. Woody Harrelson is brilliant as the general who captures Caesar, and he and Andy Serkis play off each other all too well. With wonderful acting, action, ideas, and character development, War for the Planet of the Apes is a worthy conclusion to this superb trilogy of films. Number 8 is Best Film Based on True Events. And I don't think any film based on true events hit me harder than Detroit. This was honestly the most uncomfortable movie-going experience I had all year, and yet it was still one of the best films I saw all year. The movie is meant to make you feel uncomfortable, because this is an incredibly dark, depressing, and scarily true point in US history. The shit that this movie depicts is not only heart-wrenching, but shit-your-pants scary. I was surprised at how brutal the depiction of the Detroit riots were in this film. The scenes in the Algiers motel were like something out of a damn horror movie. I shed tears during a couple scenes, they were so brutal and depressing. Will Poulter gives the best performance I have ever seen from him. He plays a racist piece of garbage all too well. He's menacing, evil, and all-around psychotic in his approach. John Boyega, Anthony Mackie, and a slew of others all do a wonderful job at displaying the heartbreaking nature of these events. It is a shame this movie bombed. More people need to see it. Number 7 is my pick for best drama, and I don't think any movie this year gave me the feels more than Logan did. This is a movie I had issues with when I first saw it, mainly for the villains, but the more I watched it, the more I appreciated and loved it. Hugh Jackman has never been better as Wolverine, and Patrick Stewart has never been better as Professor Xavier. James Mangold's decision to make this movie a Western drama about mortality and the legacies we leave behind was absolute brilliance. Daphne Keane as X-23 steals the show, and her back and forth with Jackman is both funny and incredibly touching. The film looks great, it sounds great, and it finally gave us the badass blood-spilling Wolverine we always wanted to see. If there was any note for Wolverine to go out on, I'm glad it was this one. Thank you for 17 great years, Hugh Jackman. We will miss you as this character. No one will ever do it better. That's not opinion, that's fact. Number 6 is my pick for best comic book film, and for me, that was Wonder Woman. You could argue Logan is a better film all you want. From an aesthetic standpoint, I wouldn't even argue with you. But I found Wonder Woman to be a more hopeful film with a better message and an all-around more enjoyable feel. Gal Gadot kicks ass and steals hearts as the Amazonian goddess herself, and restored faith that the DCEU could work. Granted, Justice League kinda ruined that, but that's not the point. But here's the thing, even without the DCEU, this movie still works as just a great movie in its own right. It's not trying to set up other films, it's not trying to call back to a past movie every 5 minutes, it's just trying to be a great film by itself, and it greatly succeeds at that. Just that scene of Wonder Woman walking onto the battlefield in No Man's Land was worth seeing the movie alone. There isn't a single bad action scene, character, or story point in this film. Wonder Woman is a prime example of a comic book film about a hopeful hero done perfect in every way. Coming in at number 5 is my pick for best adaptation, and if James Franco doesn't get a damn Oscar for his performance in The Disaster Artist, I'm gonna be pissed. The Disaster Artist was based on the book by Greg Sestero, the actor who played Mark opposite Tommy Wiseau's Johnny in The Room. The film long considered to be the best worst movie ever made. The film chronicles the friendship of Greg and Tommy and their ambitions to make a movie and make a name for themselves in the industry. For as much as this is a hilarious account on the making of one of the biggest cult films in recent memory, it is also a story about friendship, betrayal, and forgiveness. Not unlike the actual movie it's riffing on. The main focus is on Greg and Tommy, played by David James Franco, and how their friendship changed their lives forever. The Disaster Artist was one of the funniest and most emotional films of the year. James and Dave Franco's performances are fantastic from start to finish. James is so good at playing Tommy Wiseau, you actually forget that you're watching James Franco. You could swear that this was really Tommy Wiseau. He mimics the man perfectly, down to the last detail. The resemblance is uncanny. I want it known that I had to travel an hour to watch this movie due to its limited release. And let me tell you, it was well worth the drive. Number 4 is my pick for best movie that bombed. And, of course, it's Blade Runner 2049. Which, to me, is just sad. How did this movie bomb? How does a movie this beautiful, action-packed, and engagingly acted fail financially on such a spectacular level? That is a damn crime! Blade Runner 2049 was everything I wanted it to be and more. Ryan Gosling gives a riveting performance as Kay, and I was so happy about how sparingly Harrison Ford was used. He doesn't come into play through any superfluous means, he fits perfectly where he needs to be, and doesn't even come in till the tail end of the film. The visuals, the music, the themes, the acting, the characters, there is not a thing in this movie that didn't work for me. Blade Runner 2049 is the definition of a sequel done right. A film that expands on the lore of its vast universe while also being a great standalone story in its own right. While you should definitely watch the original Blade Runner, you really don't have to appreciate this film. In my opinion, Blade Runner 2049 not only stands tall with its predecessor, but in many respects surpasses it. And number 3 is my pick for best indie film, and that would go to 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. I honestly can't remember the last time I saw character development and story progression done this flawlessly in a motion picture. Characters you start to love grow more flawed over time, and characters you start to hate grow to make you love them over time. The characters in this movie are some of the best I have ever seen. The acting is flawless. Frances McDormand and Sam Rockwell both deserve Oscars for these beautiful performances. McDormand in particular is friggin' hilarious from start to finish. This is a woman pissed at the police department and doing everything she can to make sure these cops get off off their asses and do their jobs. The premise is crazy yet simple. The characters are flawed yet very likable. Every time I thought this movie was gonna go one way, it pulled a total 180 and went somewhere I wasn't expecting, especially in the way it ended. I don't want to spoil anything, but if you were to only watch the first 15 minutes of this film, you'd never guess, not in a million years, how it ended. This film didn't have a very big release and sort of flew under the radar, but it's one that's definitely worth seeking out. The emotional experience of it alone makes it worth the viewing. At number 2 is my pick for best fantasy film, and to hell with all the haters out there because The Last Jedi fucking rocked. I'm so sorry that this film didn't pander to you and suck your dick and make all your dumb internet theories come to fruition, instead opting to do something new and creative. Get the fuck over it. The Last Jedi represented everything I wanted in these new series of films. It furthered the characters, introduced new and engaging themes, and featured some of the best visuals and ideas ever to grace the series. It's a film about failure and learning from failure. A film about rising above your past mistakes, embracing change and embracing what the future holds. Sadly, it was made for an audience whose unfortunate majority can't accept change and is apparently fearful of the future. Mark Hamill gave the best performance of his career in this. His return to Luke Skywalker's character did not disappoint me in the slightest. Adam Driver and Daisy Ridley are great in their scenes together, and the way the film progressed their characters was both unexpected and heartbreaking. John Boyega and Kelly Marie Tran are both wonderful. Again, screw the haters, Rose is fucking awesome. I honestly don't know how people can look at the themes of this film, its visuals, its performances, its characters, and its expansion of the Star Wars lore, and not see one of the best films this series has ever given us. It is baffling to me the amount of hatred this movie has gotten. The Last Jedi is an absolute masterpiece, and if you can't appreciate it for what it is and can only bitch about what you wanted it to be, that's entirely your loss. And here it is, my pick for the best film of 2017 is Mother. Many films this year gave me a great experience. Blade Runner 2049 gave us a grim yet colorful look at the future ahead. The Disaster Artist almost had me pissing my pants with laughter. The Last Jedi reminded me that failure can be a powerful teacher. However, Mother was a completely different experience altogether. When this film came out, being a fan of Darren Aronofsky, this piece of crap notwithstanding, I wanted to see it bad. But when it came out, my car died, so I had to walk an hour to the theater to see it. After seeing it, I had a whole hour walk home to think about the film and what I had just seen. By the time I was home, I was convinced that no other movie in 2017 would challenge me or take me out of my comfort zone the way Mother did. And now that 2017 is over, I'm happy to say I was right. Mother was an absolute masterpiece of drama, horror, and religious perception that kept me engaged from start to finish, with its perfect acting, insane visuals, and unique storytelling. Jennifer Lawrence has never been better in my opinion. Javier Bardem, Michelle Pfeiffer, Ed Harris, Domhnall Gleeson, all of them are spectacular. Even Kristen Wiig's short cameo in this film is equal parts memorable and messed up. Mother is as meaningful as it is unnerving. There are some things in this movie that are so disturbing they will make you cringe, but they are worth it for the all-around experience and fit the general tone of the film. Even the scenes that made me feel uncomfortable were so expertly handled and directed, it was hard for me not to appreciate them. No other film this year blew my mind the way Mother did. Mother is my favorite film of 2017 without question. So what were your favorite films this year? Please let me know in the comments, and please subscribe if you'd like to see more.